Welcome to Pop Mamela podcast. My name is Kargo. We're back again with another episode. Today I have the legend, the music expert, the legal advisor, consultant with an experience of over 30 years in the industry. He's another member of Trompies. His name is Eugene Mthethwa. Mr. Eugene, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And thanks for coming.
No, thank you for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be. It's actually a humbling experience when you get introduced as an expert.
You are, and that's why you're here.
In fact, there's one incident that occurred in my history.
Yeah.
Where they were looking for 6 experts in the continent of Africa to write a paper for UNESCO, United Nations, on preferential treatment around the issue of cultural diversity.
Yeah.
And I was named as one of those.
All right.
And I pitched against the professors. I think there were 2 professors who applied for it. And I got the position to write that paper. But unfortunately, political battles, they began against, it was Dr. Paulo Jordan, may his doctorate rest in peace. He's the one who then waged political battles against me because I was very close to Zuma at that time, going to Polokwane.
Yes.
Yeah, in 2007. So he decided that I must resign because the country is a signatory to that cultural diversity treaty. And he wanted to put his friend, a professor, I don't remember Professor who. So this was a very independent process of selecting 6 experts. But for the mere fact that I was selected by UNESCO, it remains, it remains that one of my accolades that I was named as one of the 6 experts in the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So besides that is political, right?
Yeah.
That is a political
No,
expert.
it's not. Politics is part of everything we do. But all I'm saying is that it's part of my profile.
Yes.
Besides,
because for those who don't know, because most of you
Yes.
know you in the music, and for those who know you in the political side.
Remember that whatever that is attributed to your knowledge, it gives you authority to speak on such matters.
Yeah.
So for UNESCO to say you are the one for South Africa, it means the entire South Africa was
Relies on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. Let's get back to the business of the day, which is the music business. And that's why we called you here as the music expert. So on this podcast, we give information on music business, of which a lot of artists lack its information. A lot of people, they just get into the music without understanding the business. So I want to ask you the question that has been, bugging me for a while. How many years with Trompies?
It's exactly 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
How?
But as friends, we've been beyond that.
And how do you sustain that? Because, bands, groups in music, they don't last. You guys are still together today. How do you keep that unity? I mean, for over 30 years, that's,
I think the issue of us growing together, we grew up together in the township.
Yeah.
So there was that friendship before the group was formed. So meaning that we have a clear understanding of each other, the character of each and every member, the personality. So we had that. We understood before we could come. So I know for fact, for instance, if I have to argue with Mandla, I know I'm not going to win that argument.
Yeah.
So for peace sake, I just let it go.
Yeah.
I will find him one day, lastly, you know it is so.
Yeah.
He would have forgotten the argument we had that day.
Yeah.
But now to put it into context, I will be able to put it into context for him at that particular time.
Yeah.
So we understand how we work with each other. Secondly, we didn't do music because we're following the glamour or we're following what looks like, the glamour that is portrayed by the media. And because people see us as celebrities.
Yeah.
And they want to do music because they want to be celebrities themselves.
It was pure love.
It was pure love of
Passion.
the music. But also, I think there was a mission. As we often say, that Kwaito was a revolution. There was a mission to deal with certain things.
What is the mission then?
It's multi-pronged.
Yeah.
One of the things, when you look at the name Trompies,
Yeah.
you would remember that there was a particular drama series, an Afrikaans drama series, Trompie and the Boxing Band.
Yeah.
We decided we're going to name ourselves after an Afrikaans character.
Of which was a bit controversial that time.
1994.
Yeah.
We are saying, no, let's call ourselves with an Afrikaans name, just to show them that we no longer give any damn about their color or about their superiority. We are now equal. We then said also, as a township boy, when you are wearing all-star and sporty, they think that you are a gangster.
Yeah.
Okay, let's demystify that. These are just merely your Dickies and Chuck Taylors, which are known as all-star. And they're made in the USA.
Yeah.
So are they saying that the factory that made those was targeting gangsters?
No.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then we're dealing with those myths. Also, if you remember that time, we were so much put under, or rather subjected to foreign music. And Kwaito was saying, we are going to dominate the streets, the parties, and the radio stations, the airwaves. We're claiming back the airwaves. That is why a station like YFM became very big.
Big hit, yeah.
Because it was just playing
local stuff. Yeah.
Local stuff. There are a number of things. Also, the issue of why we say it was a revolution. We were also responding to the political messages of that time. Post-1994, young people seized the opportunities. You are now no longer a person who's defined by the background of your family background or the environment you come from, or the circumstances that you are faced with. You now have equal opportunities. Now you can no longer call me the K word because you are a white person. Don't call me K by Adama Fugat. Now we are celebrating our freedom, Sikyangengom. Okay. Because a black person, if he's seen driving a beautiful car, an expensive car, he must have stolen it.
Yes.
But a white person, when he drives an expensive car, he must be a successful businessman. So we're dealing with those things issues, without saying much, and it was not even intended to be like that, but it was uncoded struggle of a young person post-1994 who was saying, I am able to do
what I want.
What I want to do.
Yeah.
I was just only suppressed. We introduced, you would remember this, we introduced Kwaito through street bashes.
Yeah.
Not stadiums, not bash. Town halls.
We just closed
one side of the street, both sides of the street, as the ash.
Yeah.
You know why?
Until morning 66.
Yeah, you know why?
Yeah. No, I don't.
1989, there were black-on-black confrontations. Our streets, which were our playgrounds, were now taken away from us. We're deprived to that space. Taxi violence, about taxi driver, and then on the other side you have your Amabuto. I don't know who no one has ever owned this military wing. Amabutho versus all the hostel dwellers versus the township people. Okay? And then on the other hand, you had white people, they would just, camouflage their faces and come and shoot. Now, we lost that freedom of playing in the streets because we never had the sports complex.
Yeah, true.
Complexes. Now, when we then decided, Kwaito, we're reclaiming that space back. That's why we're closing the door. And the taxis would,
They would
go around.
go around, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
When was it when you guys started the group? And what was where was the idea coming from to say, you know what, let's just call ourselves a band, we're going to record music, we're going to release it. Was there a plan there? Or you just a matter of like, let's just record music, we'll see what happens?
Before 1994, we had started recording some songs. And it was it was just pure luck that our songs or our album ended up in the hands of the recording company.
Yeah.
Because when it is God's timing, when the Bible says at the fullness of God's time, that's what happened with Trompies. Because we had done these songs and we went to different companies to submit our demo, and it was rejected. Task Music, EMI, RPM, and that.
Why? What was the reason?
No, this is one thing that we must deal with.
Yeah.
With this sector, people's dreams are killed.
Yeah,
because you are just told, no, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Well, how about you? How about you doing something like Java?
Yes.
Do something like so and so. So that identity gets away.
Yeah.
Now, we did not intend to become a group. We just decided, let's do some music. Each time we got studio time, we would do something, and then we compiled that into a cassette. If you remember those days, it was cassettes. So I had a TDK 90, and we had recorded the songs on side A.
Yeah.
And I was given an assignment to do Best of Slaves, to produce Best of Slaves, the Lucky Dubes band.
Yes, band, yeah.
And I did that with Mandla. Some songs I did with Mandla Speaker.
Yeah.
And when every Friday at Galo, there would be a listening session which was called the A&R session.
Yeah.
Fridays, they would listen to new products, whatever that they've assigned into the studios, and it will bring the marketing team, the sales people, the producers, the management to come and listen. Now, because I had been assigned by Galo to do the Best of Slaves, I then on Friday, on that day, Thursday, I put the Slaves, Best of Slaves on side B, and I rewinded the cassette on side B.
On purpose or?
So that when I get there, they just put and play.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Saib Tellis, who was the MD at that time of Galo, when it was about to be the slaves listening session, he kept on winding the cassette with a ball pen and talking.
Were you not telling him that, no, you don't have to?
No, I wasn't even aware that he was doing that.
Yeah.
When you are remember that I'm bringing this and I'm going to be critiqued.
Yeah.
So I was nervous.
Yes.
And he kept on winding this, but nothing said to me, tell him that no, it is. He thought that I forgot to rewind the cassette and put it on side A. But it's because I didn't have money to buy a cassette. I then recorded on side B.
Yeah.
So he rewinded the cassette until side A, the beginning of side A. And when he put the cassette and played, Sikyanga Ngoma played. Oof. And everybody stood up and said, wow, if this is Best of Slaves, spot release.
Yeah.
Spot release meaning that it must then be prioritized as the first album to be released from this meeting. So that's how it became.
But then what was the plan with this Sikyanga Ngoma?
The plan was to take it to different companies to try and get a deal. Now, that's why I'm saying it was by pure luck that Tsai's actions
Yes.
ended up getting Sikiang Ngoma into an A&R meeting at Galo. And everybody said, oh, if this is slaves, spot release.
Yeah.
So we were not even intending to submit it
Yes.
at that listing because it was not meant for Galo.
Would you say you had given up on that scheme?
Yes, there was that, discouragement.
Yeah.
When you have been rejected, not once, twice, not twice, thrice,
Yeah.
you go around and doubting even this. And this happens to be the best album of Trompies because
Wow.
it had more than 7 or 8 hits.
Hits, yeah, on
Yeah,
it.
on
until,
it.
And until today, I mean, there's Gang Ngoma and all other hits, there's still hits, classic today.
You see that album now, they've just released it on a vinyl.
Yeah.
They've just clinched a deal with some company, which I still have to follow.
Yeah.
Now coming to the issues of rights, because when we gave Galo that album, it was an introduction of Trompies
Yeah.
into the market. We had recorded that music on our own. So we brought the master to Ghana.
Yeah. More
So
like
it-
you own the sound recording of it.
Yes. So it was only a licensing deal.
Yeah.
But go and check who owns the rights even today.
It's
Ghana.
you guys. Yeah. Oh, it's Galo.
It's still Galo. Galo is trading
Tell
on
me.
our behalf without us having given
Would you
the consent.
Would you say, was it something that you guys then didn't know about the rights, about the masters, and basically the whole business? Is it something that you guys didn't know, or maybe you overlooked? You guys just wanted to release the music and let it out there.
No, it's not that we didn't. When we started with Trompies, we're much more informed.
Yeah.
Because I had worked with the likes of Messi Pagela, Aliket, Chaklas, Casino, and then I moved to Lucky Dube. So I had already
Been
had
in the industry.
tested
Yeah.
what exploitation is. And being informed, much more informed at that stage. Mantla was much more informed at that stage because he had worked with the likes of Chico.
Yeah.
But the system that robs people's rights, it's still there. You were forced to sign a deed of assignment. A deed of assignment is the equivalent of a title deed.
Yeah.
When you own a house, you must have title deed to prove that
you own it.
Yeah, you own it. Now with music, we were forced to sign deeds of assignments, which were given rights to the record companies. You would not release an album without having signed it under the record company. Okay, because we're desperate. We didn't have, I mean, after you've been rejected so many times and then you get an opportunity like this, then you say, oh, I will go with this one.
Yeah.
But we had negotiated. In fact, I was the chief negotiator because the guys didn't even know how to speak at that time. I negotiated a very good deal with Galo. Something that has never been done in the history of the industry, where you get a licensing deal at 18% escalating. And escalating after 5,000 units, remember that after 5,000 units, you have sold 5,000 units, it's a breakthrough that you have recouped.
Yeah.
Now the company is working on profits. Now it then had to escalate. But like I said, this was just born at the right time. And it found itself, this album found itself at the right place at the right time. Because I remember one of the incidents that happened when that time, because we didn't have money now, the company had to give you an advance to go and buy clothes for photo shoot and that, And we were promised a certain amount of money. But we went to do the quotations as required of the clothes, the attires that we were going to wear.
Was it promised individually or maybe as a group?
No, remember I was negotiating. So I
Yes.
was the one who was negotiating on behalf of the group.
Yeah.
So everybody was going to be, remember that when you are doing a licensing deal, the marketing of the album remains with the company, unless you are doing a joint venture with the company or distribution deal.
Depending on the agreement on
Yes.
how, yeah.
That agreement of a licensing deal, it gives the responsibility to the company to market.
Yeah.
So part of our look, the attire, it's part of the marketing tool because you need to look presentable so that people can buy your album. So we went to do the quotations, and when we came back with the quotations, we gave it to Sai, and then we were supposed to come and collect the checks to go and pay. I remember it was a shop in Hillbrow. And when I came the following day to collect the checks, then the checks were not the amount that we had
Agreed on.
Yeah. And I tried to call Saib Telezi, who was on leave, deliberately on leave, leaves the checks that are not the amount that we agreed upon, and then he goes on leave. When I call him, he says, I must not abuse his privacy.
Wow.
Okay, and I was heartbroken. I then went to Gallo to say, look, I started at RPM and I said, remember RPM was part of Gallo.
Yeah.
In those listening sessions, RPM would also attend. And I went to Mike Maswanga, and may his soul rest in peace. And I said, Mike, you said you would love to have Trompies. And he said, yes. And I said, look, we are not agreeing with Gallo on certain things, and I would like to bring it to you. And he said, no, you can bring it now. I said, yeah, you can take it. And then I said, but Gallo had given us 20%.
So this 20%, you still have to share the rest of the percentage with the...
Yeah, but I was lying. It was my negotiating skills kicking in.
You being smart.
Now, the 20% is for all of us. So all of us, we are getting, from the sales, the total sales, we must get 20%, and that 20% will then be divided amongst the 4 people.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I said, no, Gallo had given us 20%. If you want Trompies, give us 22 escalating. After 5,000, 23. After 10,000, 24. And then 25 could be the maximum. No one was getting that at that.
You guys
1994.
managed to do that successfully.
I mean, Brenda Fassie was at 11%. Such a top star. When she died, she was still at 11%.
But I think it makes sense for you guys. I mean, it was 4 of you. So it made sense to have it escalating as time.
But believe you me, this industry doesn't deal with sense. There's no morality in capitalism.
Yeah, it's true.
So that 20%, you would even wonder whether it was 20% of 100%.
Yeah.
You know, because they had these tendencies of putting in certain things. For instance, they said in the contract, it said they will market. We bring the master, they will do the packaging and market, because that's their responsibility. And we're getting 20%, they're getting 80% of that, okay? Now, they would come and say, hey, you need to do a video. You have reached 5,000 units.
Yeah, units, yeah.
That you have sold. So you qualify now to do a video. And they would say, okay, the video is going to cost us about 50,000. They don't even talk to you, negotiate with you. They tell you.
Who are supposed to pay? You guys or maybe the company?
No, it's the marketing tool. So they're supposed to pay. Now you'll understand it better because you're asking the right questions. Now, this 50,000 rands, it might not be 50,000 rands, it might be 20,000 rands to do that video. And who does the video? It might be Gallo doing the video itself, because it had means to production of
Yeah.
many other things. You know, Kargo was all over. It had its own distribution network. It had its own shops and that, you know. Now, when they say 50%, 50,000, you can't even say, show me
Yeah.
proof of payments, nothing. You just accept that. And then later on, they'll tell you, recoupable. Now, how do you provide me means of marketing an album? It's your responsibility according to the contract. But then you make me do a video that I must pay for.
I think it's also one thing that is still happening even today,
It still happens.
and
It's
of which a
still-
lot of artists don't understand that part.
Well, those are the do's and don'ts of the industry that young people are not eager to know. They are just quick at getting into the industry for the fame.
I want to talk about you guys. How does a split work in a group? Who owns what?
Ideally, okay, let me say, in our situation, besa mapanzula, kamina kawe.
Yeah.
That is why we're still even existing today, because there was no big boss, there was no better
Than this.
one than the other one in
Yeah.
the group. Would sit and say, kamina kawe. Even when we come from the shows, we pay people that we have to pay,
Okay.
and then whatever is left, equally.
Yeah.
Okay. But ideally, now when we talk about contracts, when it comes to contracts, ideally you would say you go into the studio and you record a song. It might be one person who's doing music. He must get 50% of the 100% ownership of the copyright.
Yeah.
Because copyright is divided into two parts. It's the music, the
The
composer,
composition. Yeah.
and the author.
Yeah.
Now you find that in a group, when you go into the studio, Jaros comes in and he throws in his lyrics. I come in, I throw my lyrics. So we have to share the lyrics amongst the people who participated. It could be 5 people, maybe jokes would come in, it could be Oskido coming in. So the more there are people coming in to throw in the lyrics, the split is
It's getting
equally.
wider. Yeah.
Okay, but equally of the 50% of the copyright. Because the music, again, if there are 3 people who did music of that particular song, then it's split accordingly.
Yeah.
You would even go further if you are even more complicated and say, look, I did 60% of the music. You did 10%, you did 20%. He did 10%, and then you can split it that way. But the best way we have dealt with is that we split equally.
Yeah. Well, but is it something that was discussed, or maybe?
No, it was never discussed. Trompies has never had a contract.
So you guys.
We didn't even sign the Kargo contract. I kept it with me and I said, no, Aish, whenever they asked for it, I said, hey man, I gave it to Jaros, he's going to consult his lawyer. When they asked later on, I said, hey, I've given it to Mandla, he's gone to consult his lawyers. Until it was the time for royalties, because I wanted to see if they are going to pay exactly the percentage that we had agreed upon. And when they paid, because now they were desperate to have Trompies there, because Trompies was now the household, you know. I then said, oh yeah, you know what, let's forget about the contract. Let's look at a joint venture this time. Now that we have money, we've just been paid royalties, we can now contribute and get 50-50. That was the whole idea.
So for 30 years, over 30 years, successfully, no contract, no agreement with the band, with the group.
With Kalawa Jasmine or any other company, no contract.
Would you advise that to the young ones?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because when you go to court, when there's a dispute, you need to show the contract. What then determines the outcome of that dispute, of that process, it's the terms in the contract.
Yeah. Do you think also the young ones now, I won't say the young ones, the new age musicians, producers, artists, they understand those terms.
Well, that's the unfortunate part of it, because they do music in their bedrooms and then release music on social media, on digital platforms, without even understanding much about the rights. I don't think these guys do even copyright their music. I don't think so. Many of them, there may be few of them who really understand that they have to. Maybe those who have their music distributed by certain record companies like Electromode, that distributes for Abu Kabsa. Then maybe Electromode. That's how most of these guys, they take rights to ownership, because we allow them to do admin on our behalf. And for them, because they're doing admin, they then take ownership of the music. There are certain terms in law. You had a very good person, very knowledgeable person in your previous interview, Nick. Now, he understands, he knows these rights. I think for me, that's one person that is very convincing when he talks about rights. Now, what normally happens in law, if you are developing law, a piece of legislation, you should not use ambiguous terms. Now you have a word that is used very incorrectly. It's called producer. Okay? Now you would notice in the albums there is something called executive producer. The executive producer, in most cases, it's record companies, because they put money, then they become producers.
The funders, yeah.
Okay? And then you have a producer who sits in the studio and say, I think you sang a wrong note there. He's a producer.
Yeah.
And then when you bring in somebody to come and play a guitar, he's a producer of a certain sound. You want a particular guitarist, because you want that sound of his that he produces. So he's also, so everybody, and then you go now to go and copyright your music with Sambro. Sambro says, we are the owner. We are copyright owners of this. You go to Capazo, they say they own. You go publishers, they say they own. So now you end up with that messy situation where everyone is claiming ownership. And you will appreciate the fact that as an artist now in the political space, that's what I'm calling for. That's what we are calling for as EFF. Expropriation of rights without compensation, so that these rights are brought back to the owners. Then they can now renegotiate new trade agreements, because those agreements that they entered into, one they entered into without proper knowledge, they entered into because they were desperate. They didn't have money. Now the common practice around the world, they say the one who commissions it owns it. Okay? You have generations that is produced by Mthethwa. It's his intellectual property, but it is owned by SABC, because SABC commissioned Mthethwa. But if you follow logic behind that, you would notice that we are no longer, we talk one thing about the rights, and then when we act differently.
Yeah.
If for instance, you come to me, you've got an idea, and then I sponsor you to go and develop this idea into something that is tangible.
Yeah.
I own the rights. So it means that they are no longer rights, it's a privilege. These rights, they become a privilege yeah. that the one who has money can now own. You see, there's a problem. Now, you have people who are dealing with these laws in parliament, who don't know. I nearly used a very terrible word.
You can.
I can.
You can.
Who don't fucking know anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Absolutely nothing. They
don't.
They are there sitting there and even have a majority rule of voting against against the minority parties, okay, oppositional parties, because they've got this majority, then they pass the law. The current situation we're faced with, copyright and performance amendment bill. You have the president.
That's fine.
I'm linking these things because somehow they explain the things maybe that you couldn't get out of Nick, because Nick was very specific about certain rights.
Things, yeah.
But I have this mixture of knowing rights, and I've got this political mind, I've got this artistic mind that knows the exploitation. So I've got the apparent experience.
Yeah.
I know how they do it.
Yeah.
That's why for me it's easy to say, this is what that needs to be rectified. Now you have a president who participated in the drafting of the Constitution. He's given the Copyright and Performance Amendment Bill to look at it from National Assembly. He then returns it back to National Assembly. He says, this draft, it is unconstitutional. What is unconstitutional about the draft? It's because it has this retrospectivity element in it. Now, retrospectivity is, it says, if I signed, the politics kicks in. If I signed an agreement with whoever in 1990, this was before 1994, I signed this agreement in 1990, and I was exploited. It was an exploitative contract. It needs to be redressed. There must be a redress, okay? Because at that time, many of us were subjected to the apartheid rule, which took advantage of us. Education that was not there, the illiteracy, the desperation, the non-resourcefulness of us, of most of us. And it made us sign contracts that were exploitative. And mostly those who made us to sign these exploitative contracts were white companies, okay? So what we need to do is to go back and say, if you pay me today, if you agree that our contract today is 50-50, but when we signed, the first time we signed, you gave me a contract that said 5% to me and 95% to you. It was an exploitative contract.
Yeah,
now, when the law comes into effect, we must then go back and say, if it was in 1990, this law was approved in 1990, I would have earned this much. Okay, so I must be paid that. Okay, just like your reparations, where people were reparated for the exploitative companies, like the companies that, the asbestos company that made people ill, ultimately. They were compensated post-1994, but we've never been compensated. You have Babs Mlangeni sitting at home there, everybody is waiting for his death, and then everyone will jump into the podium and say, we become vultures, the undertakers. Okay, so those are the issues that young people need to take into consideration. And the unfortunate thing why I'm saying young people now that you've asked that question, they are not participating in these processes of this amendment. They don't even know what is wrong with these, with the copyright and performance amendment bill.
Because in the music industry it's more about creatives. So when you talk about copyrights, the business side, nobody's interested.
Yeah.
But then also, I just want to go through that again. What was the formula for Trompies to work over 30 years? No contract from Galo between you guys and what? Kalawa. What was the formula that worked, actually?
As I said, that Kwaito was a revolution.
Yeah.
And we understood that the messages, the political messages that were flying around at that time, means to production. We owned means to production. No one owns any album at Trompies. And then we also hearkened to the call for young people to take ownership. Remember, post 1994, we're talking equitable ownership. We owned Kalawa Jasmine. We started our own company that you know today as Kalawa Jasmine. Okay. So basically, we owned everything. So we didn't have Ubas. If we were to sign a contract, we would have signed the contract with ourselves. It wouldn't make sense.
Talking about ownership, when I listen to Kwaito right now, there's a sense of lock drum there. Would you say you guys introduced lock drum?
Yeah, me and Mandla, we always boast about that.
Really?
Yeah, it was a sound that was not there, but I remember it was the JV 1080 that allowed us to tweak the sound into sounding like a lock drum. If you listen, Shisamategi Mesipagel.
Yeah. It's a lock drum.
It's a lock drum. Okay. But we made it, we didn't get it readily there. Available. We tweaked the sound
to sound the way.
Yeah, the way we wanted it. Even our percussion. We did our percussion the different way that no one could understand what was happening. We'd record the percussion, the whole song will sample some sounds and create a percussion. And then we'd create a track, one track. Where we use this, we bounce the percussion into this track.
Yeah.
And then we use the pitch bender to tweak it. As it plays, we record the pitch bend. It goes. That sound was because of the pitch bend. And no one could find it because it was not in the motions. It was our own. The king that Makaula did take and misused it.
There's a video that Maporisa posted about if he owns the studio, he owns whatever that is being produced there, which it shook the internet. It is something that people don't understand about those copyrights, that when you come to my studio and you put the whole song there, I own it.
That's what the law says currently. And unfortunately, the amendment bill doesn't deal with that also. Because it is what I've just talked to you about, the issue of the one who commissions it. He's got the studio. Now he's like the one who commissions it. Because you are underprivileged, you don't have a studio, but you have the intellectual property.
Yeah.
Then it ends up in his ownership. What becomes his ownership into this? It's the master. Now, unfortunately, our law doesn't cover the intrinsic nature of the rights, as I said.
Yet, yeah.
The value of rights. That's why you can't be an artist. You can't find an artist in the court of law litigating. The law protects what I would put it simply as the hardware, not the software. Okay? You lose the rights to of software into the one who brings the hardware. So it protects the CD as opposed to the songs that are in the CD. So, yeah,
so
we need to sort out
basically,
that.
he was right on that.
He was right, but ideally, in the political correctness, if I were to come in and say, here's a company that I have, I would have taken into consideration post-1994 that I don't want to exploit our own. And therefore, I must apply the policy of equitable ownership. You can't sign somebody for 20 years, making hits for you for 20 years, and not give that person shares in your company. That's what it must drive. The future must be. You start with me, I sign you for 3 years. After 3 years, I don't have to extend my contract in the same terms. I must now look at, now that you know a bit, let me give you a better percentage, for instance. Secondly, let me now allow you to bring a master to me, and so that you then license it to me. whilst I'm teaching you the do's and the don'ts and the business skills, to then ultimately see you grow into a smaller company under my company. Okay, now you also being able to get other artists under your company. That's growth.
But then do you think record labels, can they follow that?
No, they are not ready for that, but I'll make it. If I become the Minister of Arts and Culture in this country, it shall happen. Yeah, it will happen. But it will happen. We must see young people growing into businesses. It's part of job creation, because if I am, they did it. The Motowns did it. Okay, the Gallows had certain labels under it. Why they were doing it? They were growing their own. So we need to also to take that approach of saying, if I have Kalawa Jesme, let Speaker have his King Don Father company under Kalawa. And King Don Father will introduce new talent. And then that new talent must now come and also be a company under. So we end up having a consortium of labels. It doesn't take away what Kalawa is. Instead it grows it. Economically it grows it. Also it grows jobs, because now you need to have people who are working in these many stables that are brewing under Kalawa.
So tell me, are there songs besides on Trompies that you worked on that people don't know, or maybe have no idea that you actually were part of the production? Hits, basically.
Yeah, there are many. There's a song I did, it's called Nara's Vibe.
Yeah.
It was used by Madlu Putu on his sports show for 2 years as a signatory tune. Even when he talks, he would play it underneath. I've never received a cent of it. But that song...
Does it go back to you not agreeing when you guys did it?
No, they mess up. That's why I had to go to Sambro and tie myself and chain myself at Sambro, because Sambro, for some funny reason, there's something that was happening, that has been happening at Sambro, where popular songs that are gaining more airtime, that are getting more airtime.
Yeah.
Were moved from documented works into undocumented works. Meaning, remember I said that we used to sign, when we notified our songs at Sambro at that time when we started, it was through a paper format, and we would put the name of the song, the music composer, who's the music composer, who are the authors, and then put split. I'm 100% on that song, I'm 100% the music composer, 100% the lyrics. And 2-3 years, when they see that the song is gaining more popularity or maybe demand, it's in demand. A song that would play every day. Madlu Putu was there every day. And not once in a program, maybe 15 times in a program.
Yeah.
Now they would then move that song into undocumented. Documented means that they know who the composers are and the authors. Undocumented, now suddenly they don't know. The reason being that song, if it is not known who the composers are, then the money for the royalties will then be put into a suspense account.
Until they find the right owners?
No, it's deliberate. It's fraudulently done so.
Okay.
So that it remains in the coffers of, they don't pay royalties. Then it accrues interest for them. At the same time, then if you don't know by then, because it's paper trade.
Yeah.
And then later, you realize in your statement, man, I've never seen this song, but this song is so highly played, highly played on radio and
the
everywhere.
rotations are, yeah.
Yeah. Then when you go to Zambro, you say, hey, but I don't see this song in my statements. Where are the royalties? Say, hey, okay. No, I think there's a mistake. There was an error, administrative error. Let's rectify.
From you or maybe from them?
Not from them, obviously. That's the false,
Perception,
reason
yeah.
that they will give. No administrative error. And then when they rectify, and you say, okay, then pay me my royalties. But, there's prescription policy. We can only pay you 3 years back from today, 3 years backward. But 3 years backwards is not 1994 when my song was highly played, was on high rotation. So they're going to pay me peanuts for 3 years. But they have chowed
All the money from
1994 until 2014. When I changed myself, they were saying, you're not going to apply prescription policy on me because I know how prescription policy must be applied. You can't. I only saw that my songs are undocumented. Others have got new composers that I don't know. Others have got dead people who came back from the grave to come and notify that they forgot to notify before they died.
But then how does it happen to have wrong people that you don't know who claim that is their song? Was it done against your will or?
It's deliberate.
Or
It's
deliberately?
part of the scam, so that it be like there's a dispute. Because if you have a song that is active and I say, hey, I forgot to notify that I was part of that. You've seen that playing itself in the public, where people come and claim after 15 years that they were part of that song. No, what it does is that it then sends the song into a suspense account. So it benefits them. Okay. So it's deliberately done because the right way to do it, you're supposed to say, if I come to you and you're administering my works, if somebody comes after 10 years and say, I forgot I'm a composer in this song, you should say, okay, fine, put it in writing. Okay, go and do an affidavit. And then you must contact now the original composers and say, can you verify this? Do you know this person? This person has come. Instead, Zambro just inserts the names of
I get it.
people. That's why people took advantage of the system and then they claimed royalties that were not theirs, even from international music. People took millions of rands.
Which is fraud.
It's fraud, and no one has been arrested. That's why I was fighting the way I was fighting. And I realized that I'm fighting alone here.
I was about to say, it's a pity that you were fighting alone. You didn't really have support from fellow musicians, producers. You were just alone.
Not even my members of my group were not there. Not even posting.
Is it because they didn't understand what you were fighting for?
I saba Magwala.
Ne?
Yeah. Artists, I don't know what I think people were so brainwashed. The fear of the unknown still exists in their minds. The fear of Abelung.
Yes.
I know. It seems like it's something that's not going to go away now. It will go away maybe generation as we two from now. The ones who are able to tell umlungu ngobungene na class namtshela futhek bazongitshela yabo ayidila la basaba ngisho nokungena ema-ofisini IoT. I told the guys, I said, look, I got paid from 2014 to 2020. I got royalties that are above about 70-something thousand. When Sambro was saying I'm owing them, they paid me 70-something thousand. And I said, okay, fine. If they can pay me 76,000 for 9 songs, because I had selected a sample of songs to prove to them, Guti, there's umshosha pants.
Yeah.
And I just gave them 9 that I know they were popular. And then when they went back to calculate how much I was supposed to have gotten, they ended up owing me 76,000 from 2014 to 2020. Now we must go back and say 2014, from 1998 to 2014. How much money would that be if they can pay me 76,000 for songs that are no longer played, are no longer on high rotation now?
Yeah.
How much more? If they go back to the 1994 songs hits, Bo Makhasmane, Bo Sweetie Love, how much money are they going to pay?
It's millions.
Yeah, because I said, you're not going to apply your prescription. Prescription says that.
So, continue.
Prescription says that. Immediately when I become aware of the situation, if you are saying there's a mistake here, there's an error, there's somebody who's claiming your song, you must notify me. And as soon as you have notified me, then you can start counting 3 years. If I don't do anything about that, then you can apply prescription police. Not when I didn't know, since from 19 whatever, or the day I was a member at Sambra, I didn't know that my song Nara's Vibe that is playing on Metro FM.
Yeah.
Imagine Metro FM, every day somebody else claimed the royalties as his. 100% royalties as his.
I want to talk to you about the management part. Do you have an experience in artist management? What is the role of a manager?
In the South African context, they don't know what a manager, an artist manager is. People think when you become an agent, getting shows for an artist, that's management. That's not management. Management carries in totality. You must groom the artist. It's your responsibility to groom the artist, how the artist appear in public. You must groom the artist on how he presents himself in interviews.
In public, yeah.
You must go look for sponsors for this artist. You must promote, you must see to it that this artist is promoted well. You must be part of the negotiations when you deal with the issue of contract. It's a holistic thing. You can't, even emotional challenges of an artist as a manager, you go to the family and check if there's something that is happening. That's what I know to be a manager. I've traveled the world with Lucky Dube. There's no state I've never been to.
Do you think we do have that kind of management right now?
No, at least Mendoza had something closer to that.
Would you say Mendoza is the only one who had that?
Well, I don't know every artist, but what I've noticed I'm talking generally here. What I've noticed in South Africa, people, they wait for you to be popular and then they jump into the wagon and say they are managing you. That's not management.
Because also you see it now with the Mapiano guys. They rather have their friends manage them, family
girlfriends.
Girlfriends, family members. Those people who don't have no idea on how the business works.
That's why they don't last. The longevity of an artist is the step-by-step grooming and growing that artist into a brand and then maintaining the brand. Okay? And then also, where you are able, that's why I'm saying it has to be holistically so. Where you then say, this artist has got a skill of making shoes. Let us start a factory for his shoemaking. You allow the artist, you grow the artist into venturing into business, other businesses, so that where you become popular, and then suddenly you die. They say, hey, AKA doesn't have a house. He was renting. You wonder how. How did that happen? There's only one artist that I hope again, because this industry of ours is full of people who are faking it until they make it. Who are living fake lives. You might think, hey, Casper Nyovest is making it. Then he drops dead. Tomorrow, then the stories they cover up. But that's one artist that I respect. Casper Nyovest, I respect that young man. He's got business acumen, just like Arthur Mafutkat. Arthur was very smart. He says a lot on
But then also, when as an artist, when is the right time to say, now I need a manager? Yes, I'm producing music, I'm recording and everything. When do you say, now I need a manager?
From the beginning. when you still have a demo, you go around and say, can you listen to this? Before you go to the record company, go to the person who says, I'm going to be your manager, okay? That person who's going to say, let me listen to your music. And then it goes around. You see the responsibility of a manager begins so early in your career. He goes around
promoting, basically.
No, making people to listen.
Yeah.
To get the views of the people. Before you release the song, the album, he would be able to advise you to say, out of the 7 songs, many people are embracing this particular song. So let's release this one as the first single. Yeah. So that's where it starts. And then getting deals for you, getting clothes for you, making sure that your image, he looks at the image. You're doing this type of music. You can't be doing gospel music and then you're wearing istepezana sazodwa wabantu. So the manager must be able to then say, if you're doing gospel, I think this image would suit you. All those are the things
and currently, according to you, we don't have that at the moment.
As I say, that the one that I know who came close to that, it was Mendoza. He had a company that looked after him. Even bodyguards, he would walk around with bodyguards, if you remember. Those were Sean's ideas at that time. What they failed to do is to maximize the profits for the young man. Because you can imagine Mendoza with a crossover song that appealed to white and black people. He was supposed to be...
until today.
It was supposed to be followed by so many sponsors behind him, endorsements and all these.
Coming to that, there's a lack of, I don't know how to put it, but there's a lack of collaborations when it comes to South African artists, of which Nigerians are killing it in the business. You have Nigerians featuring a lot of UK guys, US artists, big names. But then when it comes to South Africa, it's a bit lagging. That's why when we hear that an artist has featured someone from the US, we get too excited, that they've made it. What do you think is the issue there? Like right now we have the biggest export of which is Mapiano, but you don't get a lot of... Recently there was Drake and Kabza, but I don't know if it's happening, of which got people excited. But then from singers, producers, musicians, there's a lag when it comes to those collaborations and features abroad. What do you think is the issue there?
Allow EFF to take over, then you will know what was the problem. It's lack of vision. Lack of vision in our government. Nigerians are supported by their government. And because the Nigerian government understands the role of creative sector. Let me bring to you an example. You have United States that is flourishing. How did you get to know about United States? Did you go and visit, or did you get to know United States through the movies that you watch, the Hollywood movies, and you started now thinking that United States, it's this beautiful country, okay? Do you know that there are squatter camps in the United States? But you will never see them in the media. And then we also followed United States thinking that it is so excellent because of the Michael Jacksons and them, music. That's what the role of this sector is. You think of China and Japan, you think of the Bruce Lees. Hey, so every Chinese must be a kung fu. Now, that's where the problem is in South Africa. You don't have a government that has vision. If I was the Minister of Arts and Culture, the Jerusalem, the Black Coffees, the whoever, I would take certain artists with Black Coffee to go and perform in Miami, to give them exposure, subsidize that. I would have an event in Hollywood, or what's that township here, say, United States? Edumile kakhulu.
It's famous for what?
It's like the Soweto, say, United States.
What is it? Atlanta,
No,
Miami.
not Atlanta, not Miami. The township.
New York. Not New York. The township.
It's like the township, I say. Huh?
Kempton.
No. Actually, I forgot. But basically, I would have an annual event in the United States branded Africa, USA. Okay? Where I take artists from different African states, the best of all these African states, send them to United States and have a program that identifies up-and-coming talent all over the country. Maybe if we come up with 10 out of, or 20 out of that, take them, fly them there, export. If you're not exporting, you can't claim to have, to grow your economy. Your economy grows based on what you export out of the country. If you don't have foreign currency, you don't have money.
Do you think it's what Nigeria is doing right now?
Now let me tell you what Nigeria is doing. Nigeria is known for drugs, okay? And Nigeria's foreign policy in the arts and culture, I believe that they said, in order for us to change this perception of Nigeria being known for drugs, let's invest into making movies. Watch the Nigerian movies. When they end talking about God, all of them. Okay? That's why you see the influx of pastors from Nigeria. It's to deal with that image, the perception. The music collaborations, it's government that is funding those things to make, concisely, to make Nigerian artists, big stars that you are going to talk about. Today we talk about Nigerian movies. Today we talk about the Danny Davidos.
Yeah.
Okay, of today, because they promoted them. Our government waits for people to go and get Grammy Awards and then they claim them. That's what they know. Claim them and call them.
When you got a Grammy.
Ambassadors to do what? Go and ask, who's this guy with Jerusalem?
Master KG.
Master KG. No, since they were called ambassadors, what have they done? They are ambassadors of what? What's the message that they are sending out there? Jive, dance to Jerusalem.
Basically.
Boss. It's lack of vision. That's what I can tell you. It's like, and I still say, and I declared this many years ago, that I'm going to be the Minister of Arts and Culture in my lifetime in this country.
Yeah.
And if I become that, I will show you what this government has failed to do. I mean, a big song like Jerusalem that made the whole world to dance, I would have gone so wild that I would have taken the artists themselves with a group of other artists to take along, so that you expose these artists. Today we would be talking of probably 10, 15, 20 artists who are known worldwide. Amapiano, I was so shocked. We were performing in the UK.
Yeah.
And I went into a mall in what was that town? I went into a mall, and as I was walking inside the mall, I hear my piano playing in one of the stores. And I went in, I said, where do you get this music? I said, hey, this music is so big here. We had a show of some of these Mapiano artists somewhere in an open space. It was packed. And he showed me the video. And I said, but why is this not communicated in this country? Why people are not... The government is supposed to say, okay, let's invest in this. Let's take it globally. There has always been a pattern. If you break it either in the United States or in Europe, you made. Now, the challenge with this collaboration that you're talking about again is it works differently when you get this. I used to play keyboards for Lucky Dube. Okay, when you go and perform with Michael Jackson in a show, the company, your company pays for you to be on that stage, because now you're accessing the fans, the market base, Michael Jackson. You pay. That's why it requires government that is visionary to do those things. Pay for these things to happen. Peter Gabriel would do WOMAD. It's a music week where he brings artists from all over the world. All over the world. We get treated there like we are diplomats. When we invited by Peter Gabriel to the WOMAD festival, we don't even queue at the airport in the immigration to follow the immigration process.
Yeah.
In countries that you know that how strict they are, you know how strict UK is, allowing people. But if you are invited by Peter Gabriel, we go through, we leave the passports there. The passports will meet us at the hotel. That's how powerful and how respectful other countries are towards their own. That's why they can call I'm an artist, Abose.
Yeah.
And then here we are an afterthought, used like condoms. When they want us to go and campaign for them, we are there. When they finish campaigning, they throw away the condoms. And then when they celebrate, they call the Jay-Z's, the Ushers, the Beyoncés, when they have budgets. When they don't have budgets, they call us. Yeah. So that's one thing that actually made me
Do you think it's also what happened with Kwaito? Because I think it was never really exported in that sense. I think what I can say is house music, it's one genre that, you would see a lot of international, vocalists collaborating with producers this side. But then in my piano and Kwaito, it is,
That's why I said visionary.
Yeah.
There are no visionaries here. I mean, Beyonce went to Mozambique to go and look for panzulas.
The panzulas are from?
Panzulas are from here. And she featured panzulas in her video. And she was learning to dance spanzula. You know why?
No.
Discoveries. You remember the discoveries of the Jan van Riebeeck and the dromedaries and those stories? They still continue even today. She can't come to South Africa because South Africa is known to be the originator of spanzula. Now, to take ownership of this discovery, then she must go to Mozambique, get panzulas in Mozambique. Who cannot claim that panzulas is theirs? And then she then says, I have discovered. Okay, the Graceland, Paul Simon, I've discovered the rapiaries and chikapas, the Bagiti Kumalos and them. People were popular at that time. But he comes here to grace in the land of the idiots and then comes out with these discoveries. The ladies remember. But thank God that he gave them that platform, he paid them well. I mean, Stimela, the division of Stimela began then, where he says Chikapa, Rapieri, and Stimel. We always knew Stimela as everyone. Suddenly there's now Rapieri and Stimel, So, yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't have leadership that understands this industry, that sector very well.
Right, before we close it, a few words for aspiring artists, musicians, producers, those who are in the business, those who want to get in the business of music.
The Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
You will not allow a doctor who didn't qualify at a university to touch you and say, nose or operator. Even if you were half dead, you would wake up and run away. So why get into the music industry? or into film and TV industry without knowledge. And today, if you say you don't have knowledge, I will call you an idiot, because you can't give that as an excuse these days. Information, it's an information era or age that we are in. Here are the podcasts that you watch for free.
Yeah.
And they give you the information. So for you to say, no, I didn't know, anyone who would be exploited now, moving forward, would be exploited by his own choice, by his own, or voluntarily. Okay. Something that I want also to encourage, these podcasts like the one that I'm in, and many other young people's podcasts, they require us to follow, subscribe, to grow them, because these are our own platforms. We have for many years been subjected to platforms that suppressed us. We need media in our hands, because one of the things that when you talk of state capture, if you don't have capture, you have not captured communication. You haven't captured the state. There are three types. State capture is politically, it is military, and it is communication. If you don't, we need to take over communication. We need to take over the media space. Imagine what we could do. You know, it's unfortunate that we blame everybody instead of taking it into our hands. Imagine if we could create a situation where we say, this month, this artist or this podcast, it becomes a focal point. The focus is on it. Let's all vote. Let's all follow. Let's all watch. Let's all do this. By the end of the month, every day, everyone watching and supporting this. By end of that month, you are making money. You are a millionaire. Okay, you are a platform to be reckoned with. You're still gonna give back to the community. We could build brands and brands. We don't need media anymore.
True.
You know, we've got these platforms. So anyone who says he doesn't have information, I say my people perish because of lack of knowledge. I stand boldly so and speak boldly. I don't care if there's a professor. Somebody said I'm arrogant yesterday. And I said, no, it's not arrogance, it's confidence. I can argue and debate with anyone about the sector. I used to come in when Minister Mthethwa would be talking. If I come in, his voice would start shaking because he knows that I can challenge him on anything that he says. If he's not confident about what he's saying, you won't be able to stand boldly and stand your facts. So that's one thing that I did. I informed myself, and I think that's what makes me a person that I am. Many today, I get that respect, which I appreciate. Whenever I walk around South Africa, people say, we are seeing your work, we are following you, we are watching you. Thank you, Grootman, for fighting for my artist, because I'm confident because of the knowledge.
Very nice. Guys, it's not easy to make money in the industry, but it's easy if you know what's going on. The music industry is one of the best paying industries in the world, only if you understand the intricacies. My name is Kargo. He is Eugene Mthethwa. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me
and
the
thanks for
platform.
watching. Thank you.